Welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a great first week of school. I know I did. It was wonderful to be back in the classroom together again. We're going into our second week, and this week we're talking about three things. We're talking about passion, purpose, and peace. Because I think those things tie together, and we're going to start at the end and work our way back. When I think about what I want for my own children, what I want for my students, it's I want them to live a life where they feel at peace. That can be a very difficult thing to do, and I use the term at peace because it's deeper than happiness. I certainly hope all of you live lives that are filled with happy experiences. But happiness can be kind of extrinsic sometimes. It can be a reaction, and it can be fleeting. We can be happy with simple little things, and that's great. That's an important part of life, to be happy when we eat a good meal or watch a good movie or just have a good conversation. Those are important things. But I want you all to have something deeper than that. When I interact with my own children and we do things in class, I'm trying to think of the long game. I'm trying to think of 20, 30 years down the road from now, and what I want you to be at peace with the decisions that you've made. Because that also leaves room for making mistakes and facing hardships and having some pain. And I do want you to face some of those things because it's an important part of life, an important part of figuring out who we are, what we stand for, what we believe. I don't want you to have lives entirely devoid of pain and challenge. I want you to have the strength to overcome those challenges. So I want you to have a life where you have a sense of peace about who you are and the way you're living. That's a very difficult thing, and that's a very complex thing. But I think in anything in life, it's important to look at what we want for the end goal, and then to work backwards. So I think about, how do we live a life of peace? I think it's about having a sense of purpose. About living a life that we feel this is what we're supposed to be doing. I'm very fortunate that as a teacher, as a father, as a coach, I have a lot of moments where I say, yes, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. All of those roles are challenging. They can be frustrating sometimes. But there are a lot of moments that are rewarding and fulfilling where I say, yep, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And that comes from having a sense of purpose in those things. And one of the many things I love about teaching and coaching and working with young people is I kind of get to be around for that stage of your life where you're starting to figure out what your purpose might be. And that really continues into after high school, whether you go into a career path or you go into college, and still getting to talk to former students as they're really figuring out what they want to do. And that's a wonderful gift. But that can be difficult as well. So I want us this week to be thinking about our passions. Because I think our passions lead to our purpose. Living with a sense of purpose leads to having a life of peace. So I want us looking at our passions. And this doesn't need to be as complicated as we sometimes make it. Sometimes people say, I don't know what I'm passionate about. But I think oftentimes in life, we know more inherently than we let on. We have things that we do in life that we know make us feel good. That we know we're happy, or we have a sense of peace when we're doing those little things. And it's important to chase those experiences, to chase those things that make us feel good and significant and important. Not just that fleeting happiness, but at a deeper level. A lot of times in school, a lot of times when we're looking at careers, we think about what are the things available to me? What can I do? Maybe what skills do I have that lend themselves to this activity? And those questions aren't bad to ask, but I think it's more important to figure out what we're passionate about, what gives us a sense of purpose, and then work to build our lives around those things. So what I want from you this week is I want you to consider a couple things. One, I want from my students 3 things that make you really happy when you do them. Sort of deeply happy that you can lose yourself in. For me, I might list things like writing and drawing. I love doing those things. Those are very immersive experiences for me. And sometimes when we love things, they can still be frustrating. It's the same thing with relationships with people. There are times that I'm sitting down to write something that it's a frustrating process because it's not coming out exactly the way that I want. But I can find myself really falling into it, and I feel like I have to. That's something to think about this week too. If we're talking about things we're passionate about, it's not just things that make us feel good at a real surface level, but it's something that we're compelled to do. I'm compelled to write. I'm not sure I would do a lot of writing if I didn't feel the need to. It's the same thing if I'm doing artwork. I can sit down to draw something and I can look up and hours have passed. So I want to know what things you have like that in your life. What's something that you really deeply love doing? And it might be having conversations with people. It might be a physical activity. It might be time spent with family. That's something, when I get to spend time with my kids, even little things when we sit on the couch and maybe watch a show together before we go to bed, or read a book as I'm tucking them in for bed. I love those moments at a very deep level. And those are things I'm passionate about. And they give me a sense of purpose. That I could use these things in a hopefully meaningful way. So why don't you do that? Why don't you try to give me 3 things. And if you're struggling to come up with 3 things, that's okay. That's what we're focusing on this week. That's part of our self-awareness as we continue to look at self-awareness. So the second part of that is I want you to come up with 3 things that you would love to try. And if you're struggling to come up with 3 things you're passionate about, this is a great thing to do. Think about 3 things you would love to try. And I want you to take the barriers away from it for right now. I want you to think about what you would try if money wasn't an obstacle. I want you to think about what you would try if you didn't worry about anyone else's opinion. If it didn't matter that other people were telling you that you couldn't or that you shouldn't, what are 3 things you would try? Because if we're not sure about the things that we have a passion for, that's fine. It's good to try things. Let's have some experiences and figure it out. That's a big part of what we should be doing in education, of what we should be doing at any stage of our lives, but especially as we work with young people. Try some things and figure it out. Let's have a wonderful second week of school. I'm really happy to be back in the rhythm of the school year. It was great to see everyone last week. Much love.